Good, I'm recording. So I'm really enjoying these motivational videos that I've been making, guys. I've been making videos where I just kind of talk to camera and sharing my thought processes. I've been making them for several years, but I've decided that I'm going to do more of a structured process to them. Basically, I'm going to have less waffle, which is ironic considering I'm starting this video by waffling. So this video is a follow-up to my previous video, which I titled The Motivation to Lose 220 Pounds, which was about this book, Atomic Habits, which I'm now conscious I do not have in my hand. Let me go and grab it. So this is the book. This is the book that I made a video about not too long ago, and it's the reason I'm making this video. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I'll also link the video to that previous video. I'll link it in the description below, so you can go and have a watch of that if you haven't done so already. After you finish watching this video, you haven't got to watch them in order. But the reason why I'm making these videos is because having read this, it made me think about the reason I'm doing the things I'm doing, the why behind the madness. And the why behind the madness is the most important thing, because if we don't have a why, if we don't have a reason to do the things we do, then we just won't bother getting up in the morning to do the things we do. We won't have the motivation to do it, and we certainly won't have the discipline to keep the consistency in place. And we all know that success comes from a consistent approach. So as I've already mentioned, this video is my opportunity to talk about the how and the why that motivates me to lose weight, get fit, and it's also a question that I get asked a lot on my videos. I get them in my comments. Now, I'm going to say before I get into the nuts and bolts of this video that I'm having a bit of a rough time at the moment from a motivational perspective. We've all been there. My knee has it's completely gone. I've made 2 videos recently highlighting 2 injuries that I've either inflicted on myself or had inflicted upon me in the case of my shoulder. The shoulder's not my fault. I haven't just, fallen over doing a long run. But because of these 2 injuries in my left shoulder and in my left knee, oh man, I'm taking a short break from intense exercise to give myself time to repair. And anyone that's been a long-term viewer of my channel will know how unusual that is for me. Now, the reason why I mention this, apart from my channel being a documented journey of my progress, pitfalls included, as well as injuries, it's because it's something that we all face, the setbacks and pitfalls in life, especially when it comes to exercising. But this video could apply to anything you're trying to do. If you're watching this video, then you're probably someone who has some experience with working out, getting fit and losing weight, or you're even possibly someone who's just starting out and is looking for inspiration. That's why I make these videos, to inspire people. Either way, having said that, I'm willing to bet that you've faced some setbacks on this journey yourself personally. Things that were not part of the plan, things that completely derailed your hopes and aspirations. If so, then I'm willing to bet you know exactly how I'm feeling at the moment. Now, my shoulder and knee isn't serious. I should probably say that. I can go about my normal life fairly okay-ish. I make videos for a living, so it's hardly back-breaking manual labour. But what these annoying injuries have done is take away my ability to exercise, and we all know exercise isn't just about losing weight and getting fit, it's also really good for your mental health as well. Our default factory setting as humans, from a physical and mental perspective, is always set to relaxed. We're programmed to take the course of least resistance. Walk around your local park and you'll see an unofficial footpath forged into the grass that cuts off a tight corner where dog walkers and runners have taken that course of least resistance many times before, rather than walk or run that additional 12 feet around that sharp corner. As humans, we're programmed to cut literal corners whenever possible in every aspect of our lives, and it takes a lot of energy and willpower to make a conscious decision not to. You can also walk up your local high street and it's obvious just from people watching that 99% of those that you pass don't care too much about what they eat or their physical condition. I know, because this was me only 6 years ago. We're programmed to eat whatever is in front of us, and most of the time eat more of it than we actually need to survive and operate effectively. It was a safety mechanism that old humans used to have. If you had food in front of you, you would consume as much of it as physically possible because you didn't know where your next meal was coming from. We're also physically stopped and sabotaged by our own bodies, feelings and emotions when it comes to getting up and getting active. If you're a regular runner, then you'll know what I'm talking about, as it takes a good 2 to 3k before you start to feel your muscles kick in, and that annoying feeling of fatigue that you get before a run clears and you get into your your stride. This is just your body's way of attempting to put you off burning energy when it thinks you don't need to, because it doesn't know where its next meal is coming from. Remember, modern humans have only existed for a very small fraction of our entire time on this planet, and most of that time was spent hunter-gathering. I'm not going to get into all of that because that's a completely separate video in itself, and everyone has an opinion on this. But it takes a lot of energy and willpower to change that default setting from relaxed to active. And I don't just mean physically, but also mentally. I have something called the 50-50 rule, and I try and live my life by that 50-50 rule, specifically when it comes to making videos and doing fitness-related challenges. I used to work in a previous life in the corporate world, and I used to make every decision based off of my 50-50 rule. 50% what I'm doing and 50% how I'm seen doing it. So what I mean by that is setting a good example, leading by good behavior, etc. Now I'm a big time fitness YouTuber, and that was a joke by the way, as someone who does fitness related things for the purpose of improving himself, his well-being, his physical and mental well-being, and with one eye on documenting that journey, I now think about my 50-50 rule in a slightly different way. I still employ it, I just don't think about it from a business perspective. So 50% what I'm doing, that hasn't changed, that stayed the same, and then 50% why I'm doing it. I've changed the how I look to the why. If I decide that I want to run a marathon in 20 weeks from now non-stop, or progress from D category to B category on Zwift within the year, then my chances of success comes from 50% what I choose to do, so the training plan I follow or the amount of consistent daily physical effort I put into it, and then 50% why I've chosen to do it. If my reason for doing it is weak or non-existent, past thinking that it sounds really cool, then I know I'll fail miserably. There's been many things that I thought were a really good idea at the time, and when it's actually come to executing the plan, I've decided against it. They just don't end up on my videos. This is just one of my many rules. I have loads of rules. I sometimes think I have rules for the sake of it. If you're trying to make changes and break old habits, whether that's improve your diet or go to the gym more, you do need to have rules, because remember, default factory setting is to do none of that. I'm lucky enough that I've had quite a lot of experience coaching other people, either in business or, believe it or not, fairly recently, occasionally in sport too, but mostly in business. When I used to discuss success with other people, their vision of success, because it was always business related, almost always boiled down to financial success. They measured themselves by how much money they make or have made, and when I asked them to quantify that by putting a number on it, they pretty much always said that they want to be millionaires. And the fact that they're not yet means they haven't achieved their target, possibly because they've watched too many episodes of The Apprentice. And then it's at this point in the conversation that I always used to try to explain that financial success comes from financial freedom. So basically having £1 more than they actually need to spend is what I clarify as financial freedom. Calculating what they spend on any given month and then year, and then separating those details into things like have to pay, like bills, food, rent, and everything else that goes with living, and then into the other section, living life, where we go on holiday and buy indoor trainers, for example, then this number will give them a rough idea of what their true measure is versus what their business success is. Saying that I want to be a millionaire as a measure of success is no more beneficial than saying that I want to be an elite runner one day. There is no tangible reason for why you would say that. If they have £1,001 in the bank, then technically they're a millionaire by definition. But if they then have the bank and ex-wife HMRC chasing them for £1,002, then before they've even been able to put food on the table and pay the mortgage, being a millionaire isn't all it's cracked up to be. If I do someday become an elite runner, which will never happen, guys, that's not one of my targets, but I'm saying it for the benefit of this video. If I do someday become an elite runner, probably defined by running and lasting longer than 5 meters before being dropped in an elite men's race, and then if I'm still beaten and coming in last without any progress, then my success is empty, and I'll probably feel no different, if not worse, than I did when I set that original goal and measure of my success. So it's a measure of my effort to get there, and when I get there I don't achieve anything that I thought would be part of being in an elite men's race. I'd have to keep working even though I'm an elite runner, so I'd have to move the goalposts. Everything is in relation to the circumstances we find ourselves in, is what I'm trying to say. If someone earns 37 grand a year, which is the national average here in the UK, but their personal circumstances means that 37 grand covers everything they need to live, as well as leaving them enough to enjoy the other things in life, like living, for example, then they have, in my opinion, financial freedom. And I describe them as successful because they've made a lot of right choices. They're disciplined. For people that think like this, it unlocks a shorter path to success, and I'm willing to bet they're the ones that go on to significantly bigger success, surpassing those that just had the goal of becoming a millionaire, because with financial freedom comes clarity of thought. My teenage daughter came to me and said that she wants to run a 5k race.
There she's walking away.
Widely considered one of the hardest distances by elite runners, as they dread this distance the most. Trust me, because I'm going to be one day. Think of Eliud Kipchoge, widely considered to be one of the best runners that's ever existed. He's an elite men's marathon runner. He's openly said that he dreads running the 5k distance as it's too short to run at a slow considered pace, which is how you run a marathon if you want to win, that is. So you have to race it at VO2 max, but 5k at max effort hurts a lot, and it's not a short sprint. You need to have very good cardio to be able to sustain your max effort pace outside traditional shorter distances. So the 5k distance is brutal for this reason, and a very, very good test of your progress. So my daughter came to me and asked me to help her run and win a 5k race. So we worked together for a few weeks, and she goes to her first race. She lines up with other people her age on the start line, ready, set, go. She legs it off the start line so fast that she blows up within the first 500 meters, and I was very proud of her because that's exactly what I do. And she eventually crossed the finish line, 10th out of 10 in 31 minutes. And then she comes back to me disappointed and upset that she was last. Now, I like to think of myself as someone who speaks his mind, and I'm like sharing the realities of life. However, I did tell her she wasn't last. I told her she was 31 minutes. She asked me what I meant by this. I said she'd smashed the 35-minute barrier, which most high street adults can't do, and because she flew off the start line like a bat out of hell, I expected that she'd have to stop and walk, and she didn't. She didn't quit. So I said to her, do you know what this means? This means this is your lifetime best performance. And she looked at me puzzled. You have just set a new 5k PR. And I also told her that she was first, as she's never ever run a faster time, and she was the first athlete I've ever coached who has ever run a sub 35-minute 5k. Then in a few weeks' time, she had another 5k race. What does she think winning is now? Do you think she stepped up to the start line with the same mentality as before? Do you think she looked along the line at the other kids lined up and wondered if she'd beat them? No, of course she didn't. She didn't even look at them. She didn't care who was standing next to her. She was just thinking about 31 minutes. Her definition of success was no longer the need to beat anyone else other than herself from yesterday. Her definition of winning was now sub 31 minutes. If she runs it in 30 minutes and 59 seconds, she'd smile, laugh and celebrate with me, because that's what winning was now for her. She no longer defined her potential by what others could currently achieve. I told her that winning is being better today than we were yesterday, every day. And if she keeps on thinking like that, turning up every day and working on that, then in a few months' time, she'll be fighting with the other kids to get over the line in first. And the best part, she won't even care about the other kids, even when she's contending for the win. At that point, her expectations would have moved so far that she'll now need tougher races with even faster opponents. Our purpose in life, if we want to move out of that default factory setting, which we all get stuck in, also known as our comfort zone, if we want to achieve those things which we have decided are our own personal definitions of success, then we have to be challenged. There is no success without the possibility of failure. We cannot perform better in life if we don't want to try to be better than we were yesterday. Otherwise, we just get stuck on the same treadmill and we maintain the status quo. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result every time. By definition, she's lost every race she's entered so far, and she has no right to celebrate because of the expectations we put on ourselves and expectations of our parents, friends, and society as a whole. But because she chose to think about things differently, she chose what her success was in a different way, the grind, the effort was worth it. She now celebrates the small incremental wins far more than the big ones, because the big ones will become inevitable. And the best part, when the big ones do eventually happen, inevitably, they won't be a surprise and they won't be big anymore. She'll be expecting them, and that big Hail Mary, pie in the sky, wing on a prayer measure of success will now just be another small incremental step on that personal ladder that she's currently climbing. And she will have to think up another big ludicrous target that she can go after. She will also learn that blowing up within the first 500 meters is detrimental to her new goals. She won't even need me to tell her that. She will adjust her our own training and race tactics accordingly, because with tangible and achievable goals, there's always motivation to do better and you become very self-critical. And 99% of success comes from the motivation and discipline to turn up every day. Except for me at the moment, the only thing I'm turning up to is a Stena stairlift appointment if this knee doesn't hurry up and repair itself. Thank you for watching this video. I've got more videos like this coming soon, and I'll see you in next week's video. It's going to be a good one. Cheers, guys.